you're online. So this is my brother
Okay,
Scott
that's enough. Yeah.
Sterling,
Down.
and we're in
Down.
Georgia.
No, you can't.
We're in Georgia, Culloden, Georgia. And he's going to say hello to somebody. Go for it, Scott.
Hello, family. Peggy, Fanny, Ruth, Juanito, and Pedro. Not much to say, except we're out here in the glorious day, having fun with family.
October the 22nd.
My son is here with his two sons, and my wife and Winnie and Pat, and 3 dogs.
Just don't tell him that my dog peed on your couch, okay?
Oh, it wasn't just the couch. No, we were talking old times.
Yeah, gosh.
One of my favorite stories is I was dating this girl, and well, I knew her, and I worked at the packing shed, and her father had hired me. So he left the packing shed, and I was making tomato boxes. And he left and waved goodbye, and I went home and got cleaned up and knocked at his door, and I had a date with his daughter. And he didn't know it. He came to the door and he saw me, and he got all shocked. He said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Oh, no, nothing. I'm just have a date with your daughter." And that was worse news than the tomato shed burning down, I think. But anyway,
Who is that?
Shirley Maxwell.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Anyway, I had 50 different jobs. I worked everywhere. So,
well, when I got out of the Marines, you helped me get a job at the gym.
yeah,
Yeah?
you were on the section and I was in the office. But I had worked there 4 years by then. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 90 cents an hour. And I was the richest guy in school. Even the kids with the rich daddies didn't have the money I had.
I had never had a job where I worked at night before that, except in the Marine Corps, of course. We might work 24 hours a day, hiking and so on. That was a new experience. It wasn't all that much fun working in the gym, but
Well, night was good because daytime on that section, that cotton reflected the heat from the sun, and boy, it got rough in the daytime. But I worked there as night guard 1 year. And then when you were there, we were running 24 hours a day. But I had a great time there. I did the sampling of the cotton to see what grade it was.
well, I know it relieved Dad somewhat, because when I got out of the Marines, you get that look like, what are you going to do now? You going to move back in our house
Are you
again and want me to feed you?
Are you moving into the basement forever?
So I remember my old friend John Harden offered me his apartment, so I lived in it for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I lived at home until I joined the Air Force.
Oh, I've got the story from Dad that tells that story. I could play that thing.
Yeah,
Let me see.
Dad said I was trying to find myself.
Well, yeah, it's something like that, But he said, he talked about all his boys, and he talked about me. He says, Winfield wants his car, but he'll have to come get it. I'm not going to take it to him. And Scott's having some growing pains or something, and he says he's going to go in the Air Force, and that's probably a good thing. And, it wasn't much more than that.
Well,
Anyway, so summarize your Air Force experience. You worked in the drugstore or something.
I was a pharmacy technician. And in the Air Force, the pharmacist was in supply. There were 5 guys in the pharmacy. And we filled about 200 to 300 prescriptions a day. And I was the only one that could type. So I sat there all day typing. Take one tablet 4 times a day. I could do that faster than lightning, after 10,000 prescriptions.
Well, they say that one of the main sources of death in the United States is medications that are misprescribed.
Oh, I don't doubt it. When we had a tech sergeant when I got there in charge of the pharmacy, and he was transferred, and that left a staff sergeant in charge, and he got out of the Air Force. So that left me. I was an airman first, and they said an airman first wasn't high enough to run the pharmacy. So they took a guy, a staff sergeant, out of the eye doctor's office and put him in charge of the pharmacy.
That makes sense.
And one day he was filling prescriptions, and the prescription was that the guy had diarrhea, and they were giving him an anti-diuretic, an anti-diarrhea anyway. Well, he filled it wrong, and he gave him a prescription that caused diarrhea. And I caught it. Anyway, he had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was right out of the. Anyway,
Well, that's the military.
I went TDY to Turner Air Force Base. The pharmacists there, one of them committed suicide, and one of them was fishing and wasn't paying attention and fell over the dam. The whole boat went over the dam.
Oh my God.
So they sent me down there. Joan was about 8 months pregnant.
But it killed him, I assume.
Oh yeah.
No, very
So-
dead. Okay.
I went down to Turner to replace him and hitchhiked back and forth every weekend from Savannah to Turner Air Force Base in Albany, Georgia. So that was about the extent of the Air Force.
Okay.
They tried to get me to re-enlist, but when I was in, guys that had been in Korea, they were letting them go with 18 years, so they couldn't get any retirement. And I said, there's no way in hell I'm gonna stay. So Vietnam, I got out. The Tonkin Bay Resolution was in late 1964. That's when Johnson declared war on Vietnam. And I got out in February of 64.
Good job, Scott.
If I'd have stayed in, I'd have been about 18 years in the military after Vietnam, and they just let everybody go then. So
Wow.
I'd have had 18 years for nothing, basically. But
I'm going to stop this one here.